right, a very beautiful Tuesday morning, the 2nd of June 2026. Mwaka imeanza. Unajua sasa tunakaribia the second half of the year. Sasa hopefully tuko katikati ya mwaka. Ile resolution ulikuwa umesema uko nayo ya new year. Usijali, you still have half the year to still pursue that.
Bado kuna time.
Karibu sana. This is a TV47 breakfast. My name is Freddy Ndimuli. A day after the Madaraka Day holiday that was marked in Wajir. A lot to talk about, what the president said, what he did not say, plus a lot more.
Absolutely. My name is Annie Odida. This is once again TV47 breakfast. Story ni yako, story ni yangu, na story ni yetu. Happy birthday, Fred.
Thank you very much.
All right. A lot, of course, to talk about. Jana, netizens walikuwa wanawaka moto. X ilikuwa inawaka, yani a lot was happening. I don't know if you caught that on X.
Well,
how the conversations that are happening, mara from utumishi, mara CCTV imefanya nini, mara watoto wamefanya namlei watoto vizuri, tuko na Ebola iko hapa, tuko na Madaraka Day, watu kuna protest in the streets.
I think I've never seen a protest on a holiday.
Can you
How
imagine?
did they even decide on that, to have a protest on a holiday?
Yeah. You know, so yesterday was Madaraka Day, so nasema hakuna Madaraka if we are not free.
Yeah.
As a nation, as women, wale walikuwa na protest, and some are not free as women to live in this country. Our children are not free. They are calling for the government to declare pedicide a national crisis. Wanasema, cost of living is already high. Then how can we celebrate Madaraka Day? Even the counties, wakenda kule, they usually not national stadium, the stadiums, counties. Kuna kwanga na holidays marked na these counties.
Yes.
But yesterday, for the very first time, that attendance was very minimal because of various reasons.
Very many discussions, yes, indeed. Ebola being one of them, and the president finally spoke out for the very first time about this deal with the US, and he said, yes, he okayed it. He okayed it. So it's no longer a rumor. He says, I okayed it. Yes,
the facility is already there.
Yes, the US are a very good partner to us in as far as these things are concerned, and we've been partners for like 40 years. Yes, I okayed it.
So hata kama mnafanya protests, this thing is already there. I don't know what this protest would do if at all they would maybe give some sort of reaction from the government. Court already gave, what was it called, a temporary?
A temporary order stopping.
Yeah, a temporary order stopping that. The respondents were to respond within 48 hours. That was from Friday. So 48 hours ilisha. I don't know if the government has responded. Hiyo ndo response.
Unajua kama order ijafikia serikali hawajaipata. Na kama the facility was already there, well then haiwezi bomolewa.
Haiwezi. It's already there, but
if the order came after the fact, then inapitwa na wakati.
Yeah. I think the problem that Kenyans have is that everything was done secretively. Like we're learning about everything
a bit too late,
yes. And from US media outlets, and I feel like they're now addressing it because now we already know about it. Because if at all the deal was there, we knew about it last week.
So our issue is timing.
Timing, yeah.
That we only found out from elsewhere, but the deal had already gotten to the level of maturity. So it was already a done deal.
Yeah.
Hata ukienda kotini ishafanyika, sasa tutabomoa. Anyway.
Another problem we have is communication.
Yes.
Yeah, the chain of communication in this country is one thing.
That debate about CCTV in the dormitories, that's a big one as well.
Yes.
That fine, the CCTV may have exposed what may have happened at the Utumishi school.
Yeah.
Inside the dormitory. But then again, its admissibility in court is in question because, okay, one, do you have CCTV cameras inside dormitories?
Yeah.
Are they even allowed? But whether or not that is admissible, the case still continues. DCI already have said they have statements from the students who are arrested.
Yeah.
So whether or not the video is admissible in court, there's other evidence to back the case.
All right. But I actually do think the existence of CCTVs in dormitories is something that should be implemented. Should be there. I was in a school where there was CCTV cameras in.
What about privacy,
dormitories?
Especially for a girls' school?
Yeah.
Because that's the argument. Okay, who's watching?
Now I like this conversation because when you're talking about it shouldn't be there in girls' schools, then is it okay when it's there in men's dormitories?
I don't think, because it could be encouraging voyeurism. Like, kuna mtu tu amekaa tu mahali anaangalia watoto wadogo.
Hakuna. Let me tell you, you see these things, they should be in the hallways, of the dormitories. Yeah.
Not inside the...
Yeah. And that
rooms.
CCTV camera was actually in the hallway. The problem now is that the students sleeping in the hallway. That is a different story altogether, because what are the students doing in the hallways?
Right. Speaks to congestion in the school as well.
Yes, a lot of congestion. So, these are just some of the stories that were making headlines yesterday. I know today pia itaongelelewa sana. And probably, those
Today
students...
We'll just be trying to break down the president's speech in Wajir yesterday. What he talked about, what it means for the people of Wajir, because he made a lot of promises and told them he has done this and the other, and we'll be having people from that county as well for that conversation.
Right. I was saying those students will be arraigned before court today.
Yeah.
All right. So, of course, we do have a lot to bring you up to speed with.
They can get involved.
Yes.
Through our social media. Usikae nje. Usikae nje. Yeah, we can talk about all these discussions with you through our social media pages on X, TV47 Digital, on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube is TV47 Kenya. Use the hashtag TV47 Breakfast, hashtag Story Media.
I'll see you. Tuangalie hali ya anga kunakaa vipi. It's raining in Nairobi. Let's take a look at other areas. It's raining today. It's 14 degrees this morning, highs of 22 degrees. Kisii, there will be thunderstorms as well. Highs of 27 degrees expected there today. This morning is 18 degrees. Wajir, it's also raining. They need it. Jana nasikia jua kuliwaka kule Ajab. This morning is 24 degrees. Highs of 32 degrees expected in Wajir County. That's as far as Bomet, Kisii, and Wajir counties are concerned. Kisumu, there will be thunderstorms as well. This morning it's 19 degrees. Highs of 29 degrees expected there today. Machakos, it's raining as well. This morning is 16 degrees. Highs of 22 degrees in Machakos today. Nairobi, it's raining. 16 degrees this morning. Highs of 23 degrees expected in Nairobi today. And that's the state of the weather.
You see, like in Wajir, yesterday they said the main celebrations had to end at midday. One, because the Muslim faithful have to go for prayers. But part of the reason was the heat. Say it gets really hot. And at midday, because the sun is right above, you cannot do a lot. By that time, you really need to get out. Waezi kaa pale chini ati paredo wamekaa pale majeshi wataanza kudrop. Yeah, it's too hot in Wajir. But it was a nice event anyway.
It was.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a wonderful event. All
right.
We
get some inspiration. Yeah, quote of the day.
It is only when we take chances that our lives improve. The initial and the most difficult risk we need to take is to become honest.
Honesty
is key.
Is key.
Honesty is key.
Yes. Kwa honest. Wacha uongo mingi mingi. We actually need to be honest. Even these conversations you're talking about, the headlines today is talking about Ebola. We need to be honest about this conversation. And you remember that statement before even we started this conversation last week. A lot of beating around the bush was going on in this country. Oh, we are capable. We talked about it. We need to be honest.
Americans are very honest. They said they will not and cannot allow any case of Ebola into their country. They cannot and will not.
Yes.
Honesty at that level. Yeah. Let's come back and take a look at the local dailies and even the regional ones for more.
Yeah.
All right, it's Ebola, Ebola, Ebola. I don't think there's any other story here. We start off with the Standard, and it has an image of people moving, and this image, it looks more or less like AI. Have you ever seen, because I've not seen Mandamano like this, and there's a military tank at the very front.
Yeah.
This is very powerful, a very powerful image here of the protesters in Nanyuki, those who are protesting against the establishment of an Ebola quarantine center at a military base in Laikipia. So Ebola center, they ask, no is the answer. So Nanyuki town erupted in protest as furious residents stormed the streets to oppose a proposed Ebola quarantine facility, paralyzing transport, forcing businesses to close, and triggering clashes with police and soldiers in a standoff that is fast escalating into a major political and public health controversy. Despite government assurances that the facility and negotiations are above board, more Kenyans are preparing to demonstrate against its establishment. So this story has been given coverage on page 4. So, but if you hear, and I see other papers talking about the fact that Ruto was silent in his speech during Madaraka Day about Ebola, but he addressed the issue in other interviews around the Wajir celebrations as well, where he actually confirmed that yes, he had already okayed the establishment of this facility, and yes, they are on course with the Americans. Now, I don't know now what happens to the court order. Yeah. But as we said, if it is already mepitwa na wakati, then there's nothing much that can happen. Because koti itasema, okay, fine, kama imepitwa, imepitwa.
Do you think there should have been public participation, especially in Laikipia? Now
that's a question, because either way, those Americans who are in that military base still interact with the locals. Yeah? Yeah. Well, a quarantine facility is definitely a controlled facility, but you never know. Yeah. Are we saying that even the ones providing medical services, clinical services, do not move out of the base? And yes, I think it's official now. This thing is happening. The protests we've seen so far in Laikipia, leaders there have said no to this deal. But according to the president, it's a done deal. It is a done deal. So that's the main story on the front page of the Standard today. On the inside pages now is coverage of Madaraka Day celebrations. Ruto apologizing to Northern Kenya over decades of marginalization. I saw one top lawyer saying that the president should address the Wagala massacre that happened in 1984, where thousands of people from one community there were killed in a clash with police. But he also did not mention that. Yet people thought, okay, fine, this is the very first time a national celebration is coming to Wajir. Probably this is the best opportunity for us to hear something about that massacre. But he apologized for marginalization that has happened since independence till now. Yeah. Yeah. It was interesting to see the level of security which they've covered there, some of the photos in Wajir and elsewhere in the country. As you're saying, some people did not show up, but I can see in Kisii, Simbarati there dancing with students. In Kakamega, Fernandes Barasa joining the county choir in a dance. Kajiado Governor Olelenku in a traditional Maasai regalia. Of course, the main story was in Wajir. The other story that comes from this also matters education, and you remember the theme for this year's Madaraka Day celebrations was education, skills, and the future. So on education, which was hugely addressed, largely addressed in the president's speech, he talked about madrasa and duksi, which is an optional an education route. They come in traditional education. Yeah. So because they are mostly Muslim faithful, their children go to madrasa. Now the problem is that has never been integrated into the Kenyan school system. So now, according to the president, he has ordered that madrasa and the other one called duksi should be integrated into the education system. So that if your child attends madrasa and not the normal school, they can still find their way to the pathways once they get to high school.
I think they received a lot of goodies. Yes. They are happy people today.
Oh, they are. Yeah. But then again, we ask, okay, does it? When will he cover all the 47 counties so that people can actually receive these things? Yeah. Probably the leadership and probably even their leadership and their representatives should have been proactive in pushing for these things much earlier, because they have representation in parliament in both houses. So if you wait until the president comes to your county, and how many national celebrations do we even have in a year? Yeah.
Wajir has also been promised a university.
A university?
Yeah.
Yes. Now it reminds me. Remember that when Rigiji was saying, hey, our to Northern Kenya, they're demanding to go to schools that are elsewhere. What happens to the money you're given? How come you don't have schools? Yeah. What has your county government been doing? Walikasirika, and I think this celebrations also offered an opportunity for them to answer the former deputy president. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Other stories here. Child offenders low tested as 8 students are linked to school fire. That's the other big story. It's on page 8 about those 7 students from Utumishi School who were arrested in connection to the fire that killed 16 people at the school last week. And as you said, they're expected in court today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, being minors, lazima mambo ya identity, we're protected. But we'll see.
There's nothing minor about what these guys did. Uliona venye wamekaa wana...
The law is the law. The law is the law.
I feel like that is also giving the perception that, you know, these crimes, especially arson crimes, do not carry the, you know, proportionate impact, you know, that it gives to families and these students. And nilikuwa naona wale victims from my girls Nairobi the other day, they are also coming out, or you know, on social media just to talk about the trauma that has on them till date from 2017.
It was only one person who was actually convicted for that incident.
Yes, yeah. For 5 years.
5 years. It's a big talking point, and being already in courts, there's nothing much you can say about it. But the investigations continue. Of course, families are still going through mourning and burial of their children. Some have not even identified their children. Parents are also looking for those who've been arrested and saying, okay, we need to see our children as well. They've not been allowed to see their children.
Wow.
Up till now. All right. Away from that, there's something that the National Assembly has done, and this is in major dailies. There's a full-page paid-up advertisement on an explainer on the finance bill. Yeah. So now may break down into very many things. They talk about VAT exemptions for public-private partnerships. As in, if you read all this, like for example on the Standard, it's on page 11, you'll get a good picture of what the finance bill is all about. Treasury has also given notice that they will be presenting the budget statement on the 11th of this month. That's next week. So budget inakuja. Hapo atasema kila kitu. But you can read more ili ujue hayo mbele. Back page, will Ancelotti restore hope to battered Brazil side? Now the conversation moves to the World Cup in US, Mexico and Canada. Yeah, FIFA World Cup, it's starting on the same day that we are having the budget estimates. June 11th to July 19th. World Cup imefika. Sasa tusahau Arsenal. 20 World Cup. That's a standard today.
Week 2 of walking as champions of
Did you see that parade in London? 1.5 million people on the streets of London. They've never seen that. Never seen that.
Champions of England.
Yes.
Ona director anasema it never lasted. We are still champions.
You can't take that away.
We still have that trophy. Wacha tutakuwekea hapo, tutakuja. I wish we had that trophy so that we can display it for them there. Taifa Leo, Rais ahepa Ebola Madaraka Day. Hamnazo, ujenzi wa kituo cha kupokea raia wa Amerika wanaougua Ebola ni swala ambalo limechemsha Wakenya kiasi cha baadhi yao kuanza kuandamana. Wengi walitarajia rais alizungumzie katika hotuba yake ya Madaraka Day jana. Hata hivyo, hakuligusia na badala yake akazungumzia namna serikali yake inavyosukuma maendeleo katika eneo la kaskazini mashariki kwa mara ya kwanza tangu uhuru. Taifa Leo has covered this story on page 2, 5 and 11. Akihutubu katika maadhimisho ya Madaraka Day, Ruto aliwashangaza wengi kwa kuepuka swala nyeti la Ebola, lakini tumesema kwamba alizungumzia separately.
But you see, alikuwa na opportunity ya address the nation directly. On that podium as a president addressing the nation on Madaraka Day. And everyone expected that he would talk about Ebola.
Really?
Even the risk.
I didn't expect
Even the risk that the country faces with such happening in neighboring countries. Many people expected he would address it. He didn't do it directly there. He talked to journalists hapo kando.
Okay. Hofu kisa kipya cha Mpox kikizuka Kenya. Maafisa wa afya ya umma katika kaunti ya Embu wakaa macho baada ya mtu mmoja kuripotiwa kuugua homa ya nyani again. You know, we've had Mpox in this country before. I think
shida nyingi. Sifuna alisema hata Bilhazi hatujamanage kutibu na
Mpasuko mpya kambi ya Oburu, kukosekana kwa viongozi wakuu katika hafla ya ODM kwa zua minong'ono. Mambo si shwari katika Linda Ground, lakini walisema wao sio Linda Ground sasa.
They've done away with that phrase.
Yes. And then nyota waliogura mwisho msimu. Konate ndiye wa hivi karibuni baada ya Mohamed Salah, Bernardo Silva na John Stones kutangaza kuhama. Taifa Leo.
All right. Ni habari ile kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Daily Nation. Ruto silent on Ebola, the fact that he did not address this issue in his Madaraka Day speech, but as you said, he talked to journalists later and gave an answer to that, saying he okayed that deal to proceed. Also, this paper breaks down a bit of the speech by the president. President vows an end to exclusion of northern Kenya. He talked about that. There's a photo also of the protests in Nanyuki. That ODM story and the divisions is there on the front page as well. But there's an interesting story I've seen huko ndani. Incidentally, the Daily Nation has a spread of photos from the Madaraka Day celebrations, page 6 and 7. Interesting photos there. Also what was happening in the counties. State doing little to curb femicide. That's another story we've been talking about. That's on page 8. Activists want femicide and gender-based violence declared a national disaster to ensure allocation of resources. That story is on page 8 of the Daily Nation. Once again, that paid-up advertisement by the National Assembly on the finance bill, the explainer, is there on page 9 of the Daily Nation. All right. Back page. 2025-2026 season in numbers. They're talking about the FKF Premier League. Second placed Leopards were the most improved team of the season. But Gor Mahia lifted the trophy. Congratulations to them once again. And that's the Daily Nation.
All right. Tuangalie People Daily sasa. People Daily has steered away from the conversations, on a Bola, Madaraka Day. They're talking about, you have it?
Yes,
kama inataka kuniringia, but wanaongelelea jinsi ambavyo President William Ruto might be losing.
Yes.
As here it is, Ruto's bumpy road ahead as 2027 beckons. They've captured this story on page 4. They call it a re-election headache for President William Ruto. According to analysts in this story, they're saying that he has not attracted any new members, that he has lost more, in fact. That so even if he achieves these things, it's already too late in the time for him to change the narrative. They're talking about how President William Ruto has lost trust, the Gen Zs, and I think a big chunk of the nation. So this story, that's according to analysts on this story that has been captured on page 4 of the People Daily. They talk about World No Tobacco Day. Lobbyists call out industry demand and stronger laws. Yesterday was World No Tobacco Day, and that's the People Daily.
All right. From the People Daily, we'll take a look at the Star. Now, being a Tuesday, the Star is interesting. Talks about excavators roar as 272 billion shillings JKIA expansion begins. It's something many people have not... after that controversy with the Adani group, I think kila mtu akasema, JKIA wachana nayo. But apparently, this is the first project to be financed under the Infrastructure Fund Act, which came into effect sometime at the beginning of this year. Remember, it's the same infrastructure fund that will be used to construct the Rironi Mau Summit Road. So mulikataa Adani, sasa tunaenda kwa infrastructure fund, tutajenga hiyo Rironi Mau Summit na tujenge JKIA. 272 billion shillings. It's on pages 4 and 5. This time round, they've really tried on the front page on a Tuesday, because you remember last week we said walikuwa nje kiasi. At least wameandika hiyo story ya Madaraka Day. Pale juu, Madaraka Day event heralds new era for Northern Kenya, na pale chini Ruto quotes North growing voting block as Wajir hosts Madaraka Day. I think more or less the same story.
And Northern Kenya wako wengi pia. They are actually a very huge voting block as well. So, kama they are sold, we don't know.
Actually, he said, the president said out of the, now this is just SHA registrations. Out of the 31 million Kenyans who have registered for SHA, he said 800,000 come from Wajir.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's huge. Meanwhile, opposition unity poses a dilemma for Ruto as Uhuru joins 2027 presidential fray. That's on the Star. Grab yourself a copy of this paper. Today, being a Tuesday, the Star is not for sale. And it comes with a complimentary MyGov pullout for government tenders and job opportunities. All right, that's the Star.
All right,
fresh, independent, different.
Quickly. Business Daily reveals 90% of KPC top owners kept secret. That's another story on page 2. That's the main story here. They make coverage of Madaraka Day celebration. Ruto pledges billions for development in the north. And that's the Business Daily.
All right. Let's cross over to Uganda. And these people, I think they're obsessed with Anita Among.
Aki.
A week later, they're still talking about the former Speaker of Parliament. The Daily Monitor talks about Speaker budget, which has grown 7 times. Yeah. Kitambo huko miaka ya 2021 Kadaga alikuwa na 4.4 billion. This is Ugandan money. Anita Among 28.5 billion, which is the same budget that Jacob Oboth, the new speaker, is rolling with. So they talk about it and they say that this is a rapid increment. Analysis of this paper shows the budgets of the speaker, who's administrative head of the legislature, and the deputy have increased by about 7 and 8-fold, respectively, in the last 6 years. Anita Among. Huyo mama ni kama walikuwa namwogopa sana. On the New Vision, same story, same Among, but a different story about Among. Inside IGG report on Among. So Anita Among still big news in Uganda. Hiyo ni kama itabidi tumjue sasa, Anita Among. She's Among is among the most famous people in Uganda. Tuingie Tanzania, tuanze na gazeti la The Citizen. Call for expedited reforms in quest for $1 trillion economy. Tanzania is apparently accelerating a broad package of investment reforms as it seeks to transform itself into a $1 trillion economy by 2050. Dollar economy. Ndio ile mlikuwa mnasema ati hao wako nyuma yetu. Utashangaa sana. Policymakers argue that the success of the country's long-term development vision will depend on its ability to attract private capital and convert priorities into bankable projects. That's the main story. Alafu, there's something interesting here. The government in Tanzania is mulling special SIM cards to protect children online. So there'll be SIM cards. You know now, if you have a child probably in teenage years, they cannot buy a SIM card directly. It's only an adult with an ID who can register. But now in Tanzania, they're coming up with a child SIM card. Anyone below 18 will be given a safer SIM card, specifically for children. It's called a safer connection for our children. Yeah. Introduction of SIM cards for children as part of efforts to enhance their safety as they use technology. Interesting. Gazeti la Mwananchi, tukisalia kule Bongo, mapya tume ya Jaji Lila, mahakama ya amuru wajumbe watangazwe gazetini kwa kushindwa kufika mahakamani jana. Ni shauri lililofunguliwa kupinga tume hiyo. Okay. Na vuguvugu la mgomo madereva wa malori, hao wanasema ni mafuta imekuwa pesa mingi sana. Wanataka kugoma hata kule Tanzania. Gazeti la Mwananchi. As we come to the end of the news review, let's take a look at the cartoons this morning. The one on the Daily Nation, Mesemolin Jamaa traps caricature of the former deputy president in a podium that looks like a mousetrap, na ameshika firimbi ile ya kuexpose, anasema I have intel. Siku hizi ndo anatoa intel. Anasema mimi nina habari kamili. Truthful man. Na mimi nikipata habari kamili sinyamazina waambia. So president, a caricature of the president just looking at him and wondering what? Ujamaa ni shida. That's the Daily Nation cartoon today.
All right. The one on the Standard has captured Gor Mahia here lifting the trophy yesterday, the 2025-2026 trophy. Wanasema 22 years and counting. Yesterday they presented this, is it Sport Pesa Premier League trophy to the UN represented. Is it UNEP? Is it called UNEP? Mama Ida Odinga. She's the representative to the United Nations Environment.
Yes. Has she taken over as a patron? Because Raila Odinga was a patron.
I saw the former bodyguard, Raila, receiving that as well. Okay. So probably.
I like the parallels drawn with the English Premier League.
Yeah.
Arsenal had waited for 22 years to lift the trophy. They did. Now Gor Mahia says they've lifted it for 22 years continuous. Yeah. And then what Arsenal used to say next season is what AFC Leopards are now saying next season. Msijali mtapata tu. I'm a fan of AFC Leopards as well. Finally,
Gor Mahia. You know, for once we're supporting different teams.
The Star talks about that sad event at the Utumishi Academy. And it's asking the question in the dark, how many more must die? School dormitory fires. How many more must die? Yeah, that's a question everyone is asking. Who can stop this trend? where our children just, you take your child to school, then unapigiwa simu unaambiwa vile kumeenda, kama ile unapewa gari na mtu alafu anambia umeangalia WhatsApp. It's actually a sad thing.
Yeah.
When you take your child to school, you should be able to come and pick your child from school as well.
Yeah.
Alive and well. Yeah.
On the other side, you know, you parents, you take your kids to school, but you don't even know who they've become.
True.
Because you're not with them. Wanaenda huko wanakuwa magaidi in school. 14 years old?
It's very sad. No, but the grade 10s right now, they're around 15, 16. So they're more or less a few years to adulthood. All right, so these are some of the discussions, big discussions. Ebola, the Wajir Madaraka Day celebrations, the president's speech, plus Utumishi Academy and the fire, the children, or rather the suspects being arraigned today. And this is what we'll be following up, plus a lot more across the entire day.
Absolutely.
On TV47.
Kuna traffic, Tatumbe?
All right, tuangalie traffic haraka haraka. Unajua kuna ule jamaa anajaribu kutuenjoy na mambo ya ball na ni kama amesahau traffic pia. So in as far as traffic is concerned, I take time. All right, so the major highways in the city is back to normal after the holiday yesterday. And I can see ile barabara kwa kina Moms. The Eastern Bypass is getting very busy around Utawala, KQ headquarters towards City Cabanas. It is one of the, I think now this one rivals only Thika Road. Yeah, the Eastern Bypass, I think, is one of those that handles a lot of traffic all the way from Ruai, especially that end, Ruai all the way to Mombasa Road. A lot of traffic there. Thika Road is not looking so bad today, all the way from Ruiru past KU. A bit of traffic at Kahawa Wendani stage heading towards town. Once you get closer to Kasarani, a bit of traffic there. Some more traffic around Garden City Mall. But sasa ile the usual one, ile pale survey. After KC University survey deep all the way to the Muthaiga interchange. Apo there's a lot of traffic. Jogoo Road, kawaida, nothing much. After Buruburu, all the way to Makadara, that's the only traffic I can see. After that is Nyue all the way. But ukishaingia Mudhurwa pale, a bit of traffic opposite Machakos bus station as you get into town. Where Haile Selassie Avenue, between Landis Road roundabout and the Railways roundabout, there's a lot of traffic on both sides of the road there in the city. So I don't know what's happening in town. Watu wanaingia town wengi sana. Mombasa Road all the way from the airport into the CBD is looking green this morning. Nothing much to report there. Wayakiwe also the other direction into town, not looking bad. Ngong Road, a bit of traffic at Junction Mall and the Prestige Plaza, but after that, it's Nyue all the way into the city center. That's the traffic situation this Tuesday morning.
All right. And of course, interact with us on our socials. TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube. On X at TV47 Digital. Be sure to tag us. My handle is at Annie_Dida.
Mine is at Fred Indimuli. Use the hashtag at TV47 Breakfast. Hashtag Story Near.
See you after the break.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m.
Good morning.
You have my rent?
Leo jioni kama tutakuwa tumelipa rent, nauza hizi vitu yako.
Hamna pesa. I need 3 G's to make my nails today.
Sasa hivi natuhusu aje?
Can I order now? Do you ship? Can I get blinking ones?
Mimi nilikuwa na trade. Nimewekelea kitele yangu. Kitele yangu na trade. Nikikunyuma.
Oh my God. You left me.
Nitumie ni live. Uko nje kuna wifi.
Why? Hi-Fi?
Wait, so what do we call this dish again?
I have no idea.
The cucumbers are there specifically for my beauty routine.
Tangu lini kero umeka kwa beauty product?
Na ameenda.
Tunafaa tukuwe na logo yetu. Like, si ni brand already.
We won't entertain divas.
No. I'm not dealing with a man child.
Amazing. Nishapenda hii energy.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
My father used to tell me that our hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Recently, it's been more of a mirror of my own ambition. We might fail. We will probably fail, but not for a lack of trying. So for the last time, and the first time, welcome to Connect In, the best experience in Eastern Central Africa and its environs.
Saturday at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m.
This is a very serious place.
I see that.
Surely. Hey, Nyumba.
This is the place.
Just for a few days.
Rule number 2.
Kwani Google inajua maisha yangu wewe?
That's my seat.
It's a chair. It was hers.
You're new here?
Yes.
You learned the rhythm.
This place is run by structure. Structure.
It is a system. Ni venye tu ni system haisikizi.
And what happens if something you haven't chosen enters your day?
I remove it.
That's not always going to be possible here.
Then you are going to have a problem.
Noted.
What are you planning? To escape from a resort?
This is not a resort, my friend. This is a storage.
Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47.
I just want to be in the zone.
Nairobi, where the hustle never sleeps and neither do the scammers.
Link Up, we are talking about something that's affecting all of us. We are talking trust.
We're diving into the campus life.
I just want to be in the zone.
Stay fresh, stay safe,
Stay linked up.
My father used to tell me that our hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Recently, it's been more of a mirror of my own ambition. We might fail. We will probably fail, but not for a lack of trying. So for the last time, and the first time, welcome to Connect In, the best experience in Eastern Central Africa and its environs.
This is a very serious place.
I see that.
Surely. Hey, Nyumba.
This is the place.
Just for a few days.
Rule number 2.
Kwani Google inajua maisha yangu wewe?
That's my seat.
It's a chair. It was hers.
You're new here?
Yes.
You learned the rhythm.
This place is run by structure. Structure.
It is a system. Ni venye tu ni system haisikizi.
And what happens if something you haven't chosen enters your day?
I remove it.
That's not always going to be possible here.
Then you are going to have a problem.
Noted.
What are you planning? To escape from a resort?
This is not a resort, my friend. This is a storage.
You have to be very careful. Fake money can kill business.
Na leo mko rada yangu.
Small money, kapesa kadogo, big behavior.
I only have big notes.
Alikuwa anatafuta courage.
Yaani nafaje kutengeneza kachumbari na manyanya zinakaa hivi? Ona kiki ni kama kiwaru.
Hiyo inaitwa commitment to the lie. Amejicommit.
Ndio hiyo. Mpatie.
Unajua kama una mtu kitu, hata tu salamu ya kawaida inakaa kama reminder.
Habari yako?
Sintalipa kesho.
Kesho gani when?
Si kesho as in kesho ya tomorrow.
Your turn.
Mzee neighborhood nikae nichoka.
Hii neighborhood ni ya madeni.
Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m.
You have to be very careful. Fake money can kill business.
Na leo mko rada yangu.
Small money, kapesa kadogo, big behavior.
I only have big notes.
Alikuwa anatafuta courage.
Yani nafaje kutengeneza kachumbari na manyanya zinakaa hivi? Ona, hiki ni kama kiwaru.
Hiyo inaitwa commitment to the lie. Amejicommit.
Ndio hiyo. Mpatie.
Unajua kama una mtu kitu, hata tu salamu ya kawaida inakaa kama reminder.
Right, good morning once again and welcome to TV47 Breakfast, this being the 2nd of June 2026, only a day after that historic event held in Wajir County, Wajir Town, the very first Madaraka Day celebrations in the celebration's 63-year history. That's what we want to talk about, the highlights from there, the president's speech, what he said, and the goodies that people from Wajir and the northern part of this country got to enjoy from that celebration. So, with me this morning, a privilege to have Abdullahi Alas, who's a governance commentator and journalist, social protection and public policy expert as well. Karibu sana, Abdullahi. And a lot we could talk about from what happened yesterday. What is your biggest highlight?
The excitement it created in the country, that there is a place called Northern Kenya. It's called Wajir. I'm sure some people in Busia or Kisii or maybe never had, especially the younger generation. So put in Kenyan eyes. Northern part is part of Kenya. So the event was held in part of Kenya.
But even you get the temptation to talk about Wajir like it's not part of Kenya.
You know, it used to be, because when we were in school in the 90s, in early 2000s, you will hear people saying we're going to Kenya. Now, from 2010, we took a different dispensation, devolution came, and then the region started opening up. If you look at the numbers of other Kenyans living in Mandera today, compared to 20 years, they're different. They're close to 3,000 to 5,000 voters from this part of the country in Mandera and in Wajir and Garissa. So that excitement that the stadium was built in one of the counties in this country. So Wajir is hosting the stadium, but it is a national, a stadium like Nyayo, Kasarani, or Bungoma, or wherever. So that excitement of having the event in Wajir is something to applaud, because we are leaving or shifting that events can only be hosted in the highlands of Kenya, in the coast, and now northern frontiers are opening up. That is one. But you see, that is the excitement part of it. You know, the flying of the jets, the flags, the music. But now, what again happened was the naming of the stadium through a former minister, the late Ahmed Ghalif, who died in a plane crash. So that's a recognition of also leaders from the region. But now when the cameras are off and the music is down and the planes have left, we have a lot of questions to ask. How is this stadium going to be sustained? It's not just building it, it is sustaining it. Are the counties of Northern Kenya Department of Sports prepared for what is happening? Are there people in Wajir County, Mandera County, Garissa County, plus their leadership thinking about a concept note on how to make sure that stadium is maintained? It's a big investment from the Kenyan taxpayer money. So it needs to host sports, football. Now it is time to come up with inter-schools inter-clubs, athletic. Somalis are runners. I ran 5,000 meters in Mandera Secondary School, so 20 years ago. So Mandera is also bordering Somalia, about 700 kilometers. We have the Ethiopian region that is also bordering northern Kenya. We have Djibouti. So the region can open up to other nationalities of the Somali origin to give us, I see it as a revenue, an avenue to boost the revenue of Wajir and the revenue of the country.
Right.
So if that does not come, I'm sure the president of KFA was there. Athletic must be there. So it's an avenue now where other parts of Kenya can travel to northern Kenya and go and see.
Yes. And there's a lot of talk yesterday about how previous administrations have treated the northern frontier. And the president said that for the very first time this is happening. Is that how people from Wajir and the northern frontier are seeing it? That this is a one administration that has finally, we can feel their eyes are on us. They're actually seeing us.
Yeah, if you look at it from the face value, it's true that Ruto has created some commandeering with the northerners and the pastoralists. But why? So I look at it strategically as a political tool to gain votes. There were theoretics, the charming and the emotionals, but that is not an economical logic principle. It is just the cameras and the razzmatazz of politics. But now when you look at it critically, it is honorable, or should I say it is shamefulness to say, I am very sorry. When the President of the Republic of Kenya goes to Wajir and apologizes to the people of northern Kenya. Not far from where the stadium is Wagala Massacre Memorial Statutes, where over 5,000 Kenyans were killed by Kenyan administration of the community, the Dogodia subclan. So that itself to me is something to appreciate from the President, that you cannot blame someone because it's a political tool when he tells, I'm sorry. There were those before him. Uhuru was there.
They never said sorry.
Uhuru never said sorry, let alone paying the compensation money. Up to the courts have been saying, pay them. There has been inquest. There has been all those things. The Kenyan taxpayer has spent a lot of money. So that one, we'll say thank you.
The president was not directly talking about the Wagala massacre.
No, he was not.
He was saying about the exclusion of the entire northern frontier, that for the first time we've just come to a realization that we've excluded this area for a bit too long, and for that I'm saying sorry.
Yeah, exclusion now can mean also the atrocities committed by the government. The president is the head of the state, so he's not just speaking as an ordinary person. So Wagala is part of the history. It's part of the marginalization.
Do you feel like he apologized for the Wagala massacre?
Well, what was the essence of building the stadium? What was the essence of opening the roads? Deep down, the president knows that northern Kenya, there is a silent brewing disgust of the state. When they brought, especially the three or the first four regimes, Kibaki might have opened the primary schools and everything for education. But now, Wagala is a scar in this country, whether other parts of Kenyans like it or not. It was committed by a permanent secretary, by people in the state, by the military, by the police, by the people we thought they are going to protect us. But now, that said, northern Kenya is not a burden to Kenya. It's a frontier that Kenyans refuse to invest in. Okay? If you look at the size...
that is what I get the president
is trying to say.
Yes.
Now, saying is easy, especially from a politician. Leadership will require the research in terms of what can northern Kenya offer.
Right.
The counties of NFD is the size of almost Eritrea, and even in population.
Jointly.
Now, if you look at it, in Eritrea, the population that was 400,000 then in the city is still the same. But Nairobi in 1960 was around 400,000 people. Today it's clocking 6 point something. And the next 2 years it's going to clock almost 8 million. Why? Kenyans are leaving rural Kenya. rural. And I think that is also the premise where the head of state was saying, we need to invest in northern Kenya. Now, if you don't invest in Mandera, if you don't invest in Wajir, if you don't invest in Samburu, Turkana, and Elgeyo Marakwet, where will those Form 4s go? They will come to Nairobi, whether they are shoe shiners or hawkers or riders, because there is no economical activities in the northern Kenya. Now, what we want to happen from this regime is, now that they have opened the region, to open the scars of Wagala massacre and compensate the victims. Until that is done, a scar is a scar until it's treated.
This was perhaps the best opportunity for any administration. This is the very first time they're holding a national holiday celebration in Wajir.
Yeah.
When next will we ever have something close to this going back to Wajir? Do you think that probably it was a missed opportunity for the president not to talk about the Wagala massacre?
I will blame the leaders from northern Kenya. I'm not going to blame President Ruto. We have 3 governors, we have ministers, we have people. And I do not care if they spoke about this in Wajir State House Lodge. That is a silent thing. The leaders of northern Kenya have failed to push the Kibaki government, the Uhuru government, and this government to treat the Wagala scar. That you cannot put on Ruto. If the people whose cousins and relatives and brothers were killed are silent, why will you open up that wound? Because that frontier requires close to 10 billion for you to do the compensation. So I think it is incumbent upon the people of northern Kenya to elect people who can be their voices when things are very difficult. A leader is known when things are very difficult. If he cannot speak when things are very difficult, then you will always say the guy is always at his comfort zone.
Yes.
Politics is not a comfort zone.
And this is the same kind of criticism that probably came from the former deputy president towards leaders of the northern frontier. He said that, yes, you do not even speak for your people, that the people in the northern frontier are not well represented by their leaders, and that because of that they're missing out on a lot. Do you agree with that statement by the...
Well, in the face value, yes, but the people who committed these atrocities, some of them are from central Kenya, the people in leadership. Whether it was the PS who did this, has the adage of the Kikuyu name. So you cannot run away from...
You cannot blame Rigathi Gachagua for something that
no.
someone else
but you can
committed.
You cannot also blame the people of northern Kenya what was done by the state. The people of northern Kenya did not ask Moi to send military and police to Wagala massacre in 1984, February 2nd. No, he did not. So Gachagua is playing politics. He's a friend I've met, and I still want to meet him. I mean, there is playing politics, there is reality. There is no difference between Raila, Ruto, Uhuru, Kibaki, Moi, Ozinia Kenyatta.
But is there truth in some of these things that he says? Like now you said that, yes, we need to blame for failure to push for compensation or for at least recognition of the Wagala massacre and the atrocities committed, that the leaders, you blame the leaders.
Yeah.
Don't you think that there's some truth to that?
Of course, political convenience even for him. He did not say that when he was the deputy president and he was in office. He did not say all those things when he was a member of parliament. When you are a member of parliament, you are a member of parliament for the National Assembly. So you can speak for the people of Mandera. You can speak for anyone.
Okay.
Political convenience is a Kenyan thing. But by and large, no one is going to speak for the people of northern Kenya if they don't speak for themselves.
All right. Allow me to welcome onto the set Advice Mundalo, who's a leadership and communications expert. Karibu sana, Advice, as we continue this conversation. Advice, we're just trying to break down the president's speech or the significance of the celebrations in Wajir yesterday. As Abdullahi Alasia says, probably it was a missed opportunity, something like the Wagala massacre. This was a perfect opportunity for any administration. For the very first time, a national celebration is being held in Wajir. A few kilometers away, that's the monument commemorating the atrocities committed there. Do you feel like it was a missed opportunity for this administration to even just put a word directly to that incident, the Wagala massacre?
Thank you very much, Fred, for having me this morning, and apologies for turning in a few minutes late. It was basically courtesy of the traffic on the road.
It's okay.
First of all, I think it's a very good thing that we were having a celebration of that magnitude in Wajir. And watching it, I would be able to see the faces of the people there and the excitement that was there. And one of your colleagues in the media houses who was actually reporting that live, and he's a resident of that county, you would be able to see the personal excitement from even the journalist himself, because this was more a personalized story. It was not just a story like the one he does every other day. It was so personal to him. So in my view, first of all, it was a very important thing that this celebration happened in Wajir. Remember, historical injustices of this country are something that we have kept downgrading, and we want to always put a blanket onto them, because we keep thinking that we can heal history by ignoring it. We can't. We can only heal history by confronting the realities. And one of the things that I felt was important was the president manning up and saying, we actually apologize on behalf of the state for the ills that actually happened here. That apology, in my view, represented things like the Wagala massacre. That apology, in my view, represented issues such as the segregation of the northern frontier. This is a frontier, Fred, that was historically decided that it will not be governed by development, it will be governed by security. And so there was nothing developmental and progressive to go there. The only question we have to ask ourselves every time we discuss northern Kenya is security, that we hope we are not going to be attacked through that frontier, that we hope our military bases are enough, that we hope we have enough people on that border. And that was the entire conversation. Okay. This marginalization of these areas and these historical injustices is such a reality that sometimes when we don't confront them, we cannot even develop the country. Yes. For instance, Fred, many of us would not be able to understand that because of the historical injustices, even the life expectancy in Kenya varies per county. That the life expectancy in Nyeri is at 72 years, in Migori it's at 52 years. In other regions it's like that. When you look at the child mortality ratio in Kenya, it's not the same per county, and when you trace it back, it traces back to the historical injustices. So these are the realities, and for me, Wajir was not just a celebration yesterday, but it was also a symbol to other regions that have been disadvantaged in Kenya, because it's not just the northern frontier. We have so many other regions in Kenya that have been disadvantaged. For me, the celebration of Madaraka in Wajir was a kickstart of the country starting to say that we understand what happened, we understand that we have not been able to we have not been able to develop at the same pace. We understand that whereas we are in 2026, some parts of this country might still be in 1997, and others are in 2005, and others are in 1982. So it was an acceptance that this is our reality, and we should start confronting it.
And if I go back to his speech verbatim, he said, "Fellow citizens, today as I stand here as president and leader of our great nation, I wish to address the people of northern Kenya. On behalf of the people and the Republic of Kenya, I offer my sincere apology for the marginalization endured over the years. Poleni sana ndugu zetu. It was never meant to be this way." We do have that bite. Let's listen to what the president had to say about this apology.
I want to tell you that on behalf of the people of Kenya, today, as I stand here as president and leader of our great nation, to the people of Kenya, in northern Kenya, for this marginalization, I want to apologize on behalf of the nation of Kenya. Poleni sana ndugu zetu. It was never meant to be this way. And as my brother governor has said, this has been a very emotional moment for me.
Yes. After that, he went on to speak for quite a while with regard to some of the instances of marginalization and exclusion, especially when gaining government documents, the IDs. How significant is that for someone who was born probably in any of the 3 counties of the northern frontier? Because many people, especially those who come from these other sections of the country, do not understand that.
I think the document registration of either birth certificates or passport or IDs, people were getting them, but at a higher cost. There was a lot of bureaucracy that was involved. Now that the pronouncement of the government has come, it has eased not just the identification access, but even the processing period. Okay? I lost my ID, I went to Huduma, I replaced it. I was told it's going to take a month. Okay? But if I was to pay, it was going to take 7 days.
Through the normal proper channels,
yes,
or through
yes.
the back door?
Even the normal channels have other normal channels.
Kindly expound on that.
What I'm saying is, there is something I want to say that has been bothering me. Ruto is not the problem in this country. The system that produced him is the problem. Ruto came from a country. He came from institutions. He came from a system that was born before him. And the atrocities committed in Mandera was committed in Kisumu in 1969. So these atrocities, some might be louder than others. But when the president and the deputy president argue and then security opens fire and then kills 100 people of Kenyans and then women and children, there's problems everywhere. In Nairobi today, people are still being killed. You have seen a police officer who shot someone in Garissa. This is a systemic problem. Okay? So I chose to stay a month. I'm carrying my passport. But how many people can do that?
I'm waiting for your national ID.
I'm waiting for my replacing. It's not a new one. This passport I'm carrying today, when Matiang'i was the...
Did this have anything to do with where you come from, or is just a normal bureaucracy in office?
Do you know even other Kenyans pay money for... I mean, if you ask my friend, people from Kisumu, they still suffering like us accessing these documents. If you go to Nyayo House, I mean, the population of northern Kenya is maybe 2.5 million. What about the other Kenyans? They're still suffering. The poverty level in Bomet is about 48. We might be louder than in some projects, in some events, but the Kenyan problem is a systemic problem. Now, the issue of access, there was no goodwill from the government. As my colleague has said, the people of this country were asking, what is the cost of developing northern Kenya? But they were not asking, what is the gains that Kenyans, if they opened up 1960, we will have more doctors, more engineers, more teachers going to northern Kenya. I mean, I come from a family of camel herding. I had the opportunity to go, but I suffered. The things that would have taken me 5 years took me 15 years. Accessing education, going to university, accessing a job, all these things. So, and it's the same everywhere. I was in Kapedo, I was in Baringo, I was in Samburu, I was in Elgeyo Marakwet. Kenyans everywhere, especially in rural Kenya, suffering. So access now, the pronouncement by the president echoes the historical injustices within the system of security. Because if you go to Garissa Bridge, even the way the police officer from other parts of Kenya speak to you, unless the moment they see the resemblance of either education or some good English or law or journalism, they back off. But the way they treat the ordinary person, you will see that, is this a police service or what are they? Because the essence is not to safeguard the law. Believe you me, if someone wants to bring a bomb to JKIA, he only needs 1 million Kenyan shillings. Because the system is rotten. How do the people from Sudan, the people from Ethiopia, the people from Congo or DRC or anywhere else access our IDs? It's because somebody somewhere is taking a bribe. And that's the same in northern Kenya. So what the other Kenya needs to understand, that we have ethnic Somalis in Kenya who are Kenyans that live in the biggest region. That we are not going anywhere. We are not a guest to anyone. We live in this country. If the system chose to marginalize us, we refuse to die. We refuse to give up, because we were born from the camel herding behavior of being a very resilient society. But don't forget, we have a Somalia that is our neighbor, almost 16, 17 million. We have Djibouti that is almost 1 million. Those are Somali-speaking people. We have in Ethiopia about 8 million. From where I sit, that is a business and economical opportunity for northern Kenya. Mogadishu is 490 kilometers to Mandera. Nairobi is 1,050. So it's cheaper to bring goods from Mogadishu than Nairobi. Now, if the Kenyan government and the Somali government, I am not saying we should compromise our security. I am not in any way saying a person who was not born in this country should get IDs. No, because that's a security threat. I studied government. I know the risk later. Okay? IDs or registered birth certificates or any citizenship in this country, how it can be received, it's explicit in the Constitution. You're either by birth, your parents were born here, you are naturalized, you are married, period. But now there is another avenue developed by the system. I tell you the other way. The other way is through corruption. And corruption is the biggest elephant Kenyans need to know. How are we going to deal with it? Right. And that has to do with the character the system created in 1963.
Yes, and the president noted this in his speech yesterday, that he had to echo the fact that this is not in any way intended to compromise Kenya's security, because that's a concern from elsewhere. Yeah. And it's not just from the northern frontier counties, but any border county, that many Kenyans feel that, okay, fine, if you open it too much, shida inakuja kwetu.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fred, first of all, the mere imagination that when we are talking about access to IDs and northern Kenya, the first thing that comes to our mind is security, is in itself marginalization. Because why do we want to imagine that our insecurity, first of all, must come from that side? It must come from them. This country borders Uganda. The people of my community are bordering Uganda. When we are talking matters ID that side, why are we not considering security? We are basically talking about ownership of you and acceptance that you are a Kenyan. When you go to Migori, there is the border to Tanzania. Okay? So the conversation must be the same for all Kenyans in different parts of the country. And that is the reason why, Fred, when at some point there was a heightened Al-Shabaab activity in Kenya, people wanted to look at certain communities differently, and you would meet them in the street, and you would meet my brother in the street, and you want to be slightly more careful with him than you want to be with me. Why? Because someone has been able to shape your mind to believe that, that certain types of people are the ones that constitute something called Al-Shabaab. So it is true, and I agree with the president, that it is not meant to in any way create loopholes in the security of the country. Because when we are talking about giving Kenyans IDs, then we rightfully have the process. We rightfully have who is a Kenyan. It is by birth, yeah? And that is the formula to which people will be given IDs. So this formula should be the same in northern Kenya as it is near Uganda, as it is in Busia border, as it is in the people neighboring Tanzania. It should be the same. Then when it comes to matters about security and how we should be able to take care of the security, it must then be a security conversation around the country, not particularized to a particular community and a particular people. So that the same way we are going to discuss how we are going to secure our border in Busia, how we are going to secure the border near Tanzania and near Ethiopia and near Tanzania on the other end, the conversation around that should be the same for all these places and with equity even to the northern frontier. We must not be able to make it look like there are certain places that we must be able to be very careful because these people look like they are dangerous. That in itself is defeatist, and that in itself is actually marginalization. Because we have people who have actually, and these people have actually lived, I don't know whether you've taken a bus from here to the northern region, you will undergo so many stops and so many checks and so many of these things. Some of them are very dehumanizing. And these are the realities that we're talking about. And that's why if the region is opened up and then we now have a road network that is it's sufficient enough, they can also travel like the rest of us, so that they do not have to undergo very many bottlenecks in every other place. I think that is the reality of what the president is actually talking about here, so that we don't look at ourselves differently, so that you could be able to see, and I have attended national celebrations before. I didn't attend this one, I saw it on TV, and you could see the excitement in the people. Those children who are singing there, you could be able to see that they are feeling like this is something that was so far-fetched. It is now a reality. It's now a reality that has dawned on them. So the truth is that, yes, we must take care of our security. yes, we must be able to be keen and ensure that every other place is taken care of. But then that should not be able to make us marginalize others.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's hear what else the president had to say about the marginalization of this area and what he promises to do to end it going forward, because it is a process.
Today, we make history. For the first time in 63 years of self-rule and national celebration, Madaraka Day is being hosted here in Wajir, in the heart of northern Kenya. This is not a mere ceremonial gesture. It is a national declaration. It is a moment of affirmation that Madaraka, our freedom, our dignity, our self-determination was never meant for some Kenyans and not for others. It was never meant for some regions and withheld from others. Madaraka belonged, still belongs, and will forever belong equally to every single Kenyan. Fellow citizens, on Madaraka Day in 1963, our freedom fighters did something consequential. They secured the transfer of political authority from colonial hands into African hands and into Kenyan hands. But self-rule was never simply about changing who holds power. It was about beginning the long but necessary journey of building a nation worthy of the sacrifices that secured its freedom. That promise, that work in progress, is the reason we are here today in Wajir. Decades after independence, this region was left behind through neglect, marginalization, discrimination, and policy failures. Sessional paper number 10 of 1965 entrenched a development paradigm that concentrated development in the so-called high potential areas. Vast regions like the former northern province were classified as marginal, as lesser, and as undeserving. The consequences, ladies and gentlemen, were devastating and long-lasting. Decades without adequate roads, without water, health, or schools. Communities pushed to the fringes of their own republic. Their patriotism questioned, their citizenship doubted, their aspirations undermined. For too long, some said this region was too difficult, too dry, too remote, and too insecure to deserve any development. That was wrong then. It is wrong now. It will forever remain wrong. But we are dismantling that legacy of exclusion. One road, one health facility, one school, one project, and one opportunity at a time.
All right, just listening to the president and tying it to devolution. This, yes, we may talk about 60 plus years since independence, but it's also 16 years since the advent of devolution with the new constitution. And we saw the governor of Wajir showing gratitude to the president there. Many have argued that these county administrations have also failed places like the Northern Frontier, that even as the constitution was changed and allowed resources to go down through devolved systems, they've not been a quicker uptake or turnaround of the situation there. Do you agree that fine, one Madaraka Day celebration in Wajir, probably the next time we'll have another national celebration in the Northern Frontier will be after 10 years, is not enough?
Or even more?
Yes.
Well, I think, first of all, the president has manned up. Whatever he said it as the state, the leader of this country. And Northern Kenya has changed. Today, Wagala massacre cannot happen in Wajir because it can't. The generation is different. The access to technology is different. The mindset is different. When a police officer killed a young boy taxi in Garissa, you know what happened. So this generation is not the generation that will belong to my dad or my grandfather. It's more open up. The world has changed. Time has changed. You have seen what Iran and US are doing to each other in, Hormuz. So that said, whatever happened in Wajir shows that we are able, as other Kenyans. We are equally educated, we are equally organized, we are equally compliant with whatever laws is happening. But we have decentralized also corruption. We did not just decentralize devolution. We decentralized corruption. And that is the human weakness. I can choose to steal, I can choose not to steal. So it's a personal decision. Now, I think it was yesterday on The Nation, I opined that because you did not heal from poverty trauma, it does not give you right to steal from the poor. Because you grew up poor, now you want to validate your life by amassing what does not belong to you. Because for me, if I'm employed, like now I lead a referral hospital as a chairman. Things are changing, but they are slow. Why? There are bureaucracies everywhere, whether it is in the devolution counties or the national government. Remember, 85% of the budget is held by the national government. So 4.8 trillion, 80% of that remains with the national government. So sometimes when we point out whatever we are going to devolution, go to Kisumu if you want to know what devolution is doing. Go to Wajir, go to Mandera. In 2013, Wajir had one medical doctor. Today it had 77. So why are people not talking about that? Why are people not talking about the hospital we just saw in Wajir? I mean, other Kenyans did not believe a former skinny, funny-looking warrior could build such an institution because there are laws in this country, there are resources meant for it, there are how we do things. But the leaders and the people in Wajir and Mandera and Garissa are people from Northern Kenya. So have they failed in uplifting the counties from the premises of poverty? They failed. And I'll tell you why they failed and why they are failing. When you focus on infrastructure and there is no a long production line, then infrastructure remains an infrastructure. But if you want to feed a child, you need a farmer, you need a road, you need a market, and you need an enterprise that is going to circulate all these within that ecosystem. Northeastern Kenya leaders have failed the people of Northern Kenya in one sense. They got greedy like any other politician in Kenya. What do? They put everything in construction. Roads, buildings. Stadium, all these things. Now, this is quick money for contractors. But the essence of our government is to provide the services. The same county is the second highest in terms of malnutrition in this country. As we speak, my hospital in Ramo is hosting, people with malnutrition, women, children, pregnant, and all this. Why? No one planned for them in January and February when they were drought. There was drought, so we knew the animals were lost. Milk production has gone down. There is no food growing. The access of cash transfer was limited. So what happened? It exposed poor families in rural Kenya. Now it is everywhere. In northern Kenya, there will be a lot of malnutrition in the next few months. Why? The rains have failed. The mills have gone down. People are just eating carbohydrates because there is nothing else. So it is time to look at northern Kenya as an agricultural new frontier now. We have the biggest land in that part of the world. We only need water. The president told us we don't need rain for water. It's true. We can drill boreholes, and there are over 800 dams in Eritrea. We can drill dams, harvest water. Why didn't we harvest the rain that came? Why are we not harvesting water now in northern Kenya? The concept of harvesting water requires a system in place. Is there a person who developed the concept, not who knows these things, which we are doing now with the counties, but they are not funding it? The national government is very busy with cherry-picking places. So the people of northern Kenya have an opportunity to allow other Kenyans to either come and invest, allow private partners to invest, the leaders to look for people within themselves who are able to lead an agricultural. We can produce rice, we can produce cereals, maize, sorghum, millet, we can produce potatoes, we can produce tomatoes. I did it in my farm. Spinach, sukuma wiki.
What has been the biggest challenge for
the
current leaders right now to actually follow that direction?
Even the national government, look at the top 5 investment departments, TSE, Interior, State House, all that. What does agriculture get? 194 billion? 194 billion minus recurrent expenditure. Now in Mandera, when you invest 2 billion in water, 2 billion in health, why don't you ask why people are sick? People are sick because there is no balanced diet. There is no food available. If it's available, it's expensive. They can't access it. So we need the 3 counties to focus, plus the national government, on how to make northern Kenya a food basket, not just for Kenya, for East Africa and the Middle East. We can.
And that's a question, because even he raised a concern about even the stadium, and I'm just using that as an example, that yes, the infrastructure, you can put it there, looks shiny and everything is set, but sustainability of this going forward, will they still depend on the national government to go down to Wajir to push some of the things he's suggesting that they need to do? And what is the place of the county administration, or devolution for that matter, in this? If they fail to pick up from the kind of mega projects or infrastructure projects that the national government has taken there, specifically because Madaraka Day was coming up and they needed to do a few things.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Fred, it's important for us to understand that the challenges of devolution are not limited to northern Kenya. Yeah. When devolution has had its challenges, they are the same challenges in Migori, they are the same challenges in every other county. So pushing the northern Kenya leaders to a corner as though they were supposed to perform a miracle using devolution is, in my view, not being very fair to them. We can be able to discuss them in the larger aspect of what are the challenges of devolution. And those challenges will be from northern Kenya to any other place. Remember, there has been severally ranking of even the performance of governors in Kenya. Those governors in northern Kenya have not ranked among the worst. In fact, those who have ranked among the worst are people like Siaya Governor James Orengo, Wavinya Ndeti, and even Nairobi. So it is not true to imagine that the leadership of northern Kenya has been the worst. And that is something that is advanced, especially by Rigathi Gachagua, to be able to score political bonga points. The truth is that you develop from where you are. We have been able to say that there has been historical injustices before. That means at the advent of devolution, that's about 15 years ago, if I'm not wrong, where does Mandera County begin? Where does Wajir County begin? And where does Nairobi County begin? They don't begin at the same footing. And that's why if 16, 15 years later, what they have done there might look insignificant to those of us who are this side, because they might not even have gotten to where some of the counties were 20, 30 years ago. And that is not supposed to mean that they are doing nothing. It is just to mean that they are coming from a farther place. That is why, Fred, there are some constituencies in Kenya where CDF can be used to provide food for the children in school and to build tiles and give schools tiles. But in some of the constituencies in Kenya, the same CDF must be used to, first of all, build the school because the school didn't exist. But some other member of parliament is beginning from existence of a school. And so what does the school need? It needs tiles. But some other person is beginning from, there is no school in the first place. So we must be able to understand that context And that will be able to help us appreciate what these people have been able to do. We are talking about a northern frontier that I was listening to the speeches yesterday, and the governor is saying at one point they had one doctor in the entire county. So when those people now have 77 doctors, it is quite an achievement for them. But how many doctors does Nairobi County have? So when you make the comparison, you'd think, if you did not know where they are coming from, you would think there is laziness that side. But if you get to understand context, you'll know that they have traveled a journey. So it is not that we are beginning all of us at the same place. So the challenges of devolution must be discussed as devolution challenges and not Northern Kenya challenges. And we must also be able to understand the context that, you know what, at the end of the day, the national government still controls the large chunk of development of Kenya. I think it's 85% still remains with the national government. And that's why every place that the president goes, when the leaders stand up to speak, including the governors, you'll see them requesting for something. When the president is in Kisii, you'll be able to see Honorable Simba Arati saying, would want one more road that comes from here to somewhere else. When the president is somewhere, you'll still hear the governors talking about some of these things. That simply shows you that, yes, there is devolution, there is what devolution has been able to do, but there is still a large chunk that still must be allocated here in at the executive level, and the national parliament here must be able to also be fair enough. The people in charge of the budget, the people in charge of our finances at the parliament, because they are the ones who allocate resources, they must be able to not only look fair, but they must actually be fair enough in that attribute. We would want that when they are discussing the budget, we want to see heated debates in parliament where they're able to say, wait a minute, but how much of this budget is going to Northern Kenya?
Mm-hmm. And they do have representatives in parliament as well.
Exactly.
The county administration.
Exactly. 18. They do have representatives, that is true. But we must also remember that every parliamentarian is not just a representative of their own constituency. Mm-hmm. When they get into parliament, they become Kenyan legislators. That is when we talk about the parliamentarians and the senators, we don't just fix them to their area. So it is a question of all of us. So yes, they have a higher responsibility because that's where they come from. They have the higher responsibility. But it's our responsibility, all of us as leadership, to be able to say, you know what, this country has not come from the same place. Yeah. Can we be able to allocate, if we're talking about hospitals? Because some of the regions in Kenya, Fred, are not developed because their leaders were better. Yeah. For instance, Kiambu County does not have more hospitals because they had better leadership. No, it is because of proximity to Nairobi. When Rigathi Gachagua argues and says that their schools, they have developed their schools, and so other people must also develop theirs. Mangu High School and all these other schools have not been developed by the leaders of Central Region. They have not been developed by Mount Kenya. No, they have been developed by national government. That's why they're called national schools. So it is because of their proximity, and resources have been allocated more that side. Kenyatta National Referral Hospital is not a product of Kiambu County government. It is a product of national government, but it is domiciled in Kiambu. Yes. Kenyatta University.
Because I don't want this to look like a competition between North and and others.
Exactly.
Because now I'm talking about, and you brought it very well. You said it should be backed by allocation of resources at the national level.
Yeah.
But is that happening? Is Treasury, we are now deep in discussing the budget estimates, and the budget pronouncements will be made next week on Thursday, I think. Do you feel that some of these pronouncements by the president, who's the leader of the national government, that they're backed by any budgetary provision? The Treasury is actually considering Northern Kenya better than it did before?
You know, when the politics is silenced, these things will kick in. Are they going to be achieved now? What I've discovered with Kenyan budget making is they're always supplementaries, both at the national government and at the counties. So Northern Kenya, at the advent of this revolution, we had a lot of challenges. We had a lot of priorities. Did we prioritize as we need? Sometimes no, because what we will have done is to invest in what is going to help the people, because we're still the poorest counties in this country. But no one is answering why Kiambu can generate 5-point-something billion and Mandera is 200 million. Roads per capita, hospitals, schools, all these things. Revenues don't come from trees or the soil. Revenues come from investments through licensing, through business through other opportunities where you collect taxes in different avenues. Those do not exist. That said, the country is now in debt. We need to manage our debt. We need to cap corruption. Because if you look at reports that we are losing close to 600 to 800 billion in corruption, it means the people we entrusted with the resources are stealing from us. And I told you, it's the poverty trauma. People grew up in poverty. They knew hunger. They slept in a room with 6 relatives. But today they want to sleep in 10 bedrooms when there are 3 people. They want to have 40 cars when there are 2 people in the home. So Kenya and Kenyans must be honorable enough and have shame and try. I grew up average person. I wasn't poor because we had camel. And one camel could cost 10,000, 20,000 up to today. But we did not add infrastructure. Asabito, 63 years after independence, they just took solar the other day. The national grid has not reached Mandera, Habaswe, in Garissa, Mandera. So there are a lot of things that the problem is. And it's not only northeastern, bro. I was in Baringo. I was in Pokot. There is a village called Silale. And it's inhabited by Pokots on that side. They built the first school classes now. Her first lady built 2 classes. The 2 classes, each one hosts PP1 and PP2, and then class 1 and class 2. So this one big class, then this side there is a blackboard, and this side there is a blackboard. If you go to Kapedo, do Somalis live in Kapedo? The Kenyans from Turkana and Pokots and all these other places. I have gone to the Tugens and the Nandis in that part of the world. The kind of poverty level you see if you go to Homa Bay. So it's a problem, as he said, is a national problem. Misinformation is used by government when they want to hide something. When you see a politician shouting from the rooftop, when you see a government shouting from the rooftop, they use fake news and misinformation so that look at what's happening in the whole of this week. There was girls' school that was burnt. There was another one in Molo. There was this. What is the economical question? Where is the economical discussion in the country? This country is rich, my brother. What we need is honorable men. Honorable men are men who feel shame that this hospital I am working in, these drugs, this money belongs to these patients. There is no money lying idle that is stolen. If SHA is not working, people at SHA and the Ministry of Health are stealing from Kenyans. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. My hospital is not receiving money. We ask for 13 million, we receive 2 million, 1 million. Why? You are told that he has rejected. Health is a constitutional right. So the officer, the director of finance at SHA has no right to deny money in my hospital. Why? He is an employee. He needs to comply with the Constitution, the Health Act, the SHA Act, all of them. So the officers at SHA have no right. Duale has no right to deny any hospital any money. He needs to check for compliance. Okay? The people of Mandera have been trained on SHA by SHA team. They went to Mandera, they trained them. The same people, on what they trained them, when they send the claim forms, we are not receiving money. I was at SHA. And the kind of corruption that is going on in that ministry is mind-blowing, and so is everywhere else. So what we need to do is the Minister for Health, Duale, to avoid political excitements. There were almost 19 cabinet ministers for health before him. There will be others after him.
All right.
There will be officers at SHA before. Our problem with health is thievery.
Okay.
And until and when we stop, the people in Kisumu will suffer, those in Uasin Gishu will suffer, those in Garissa will suffer, those in Kiambu and Muranga will suffer, even though they are structural. Government then benefited infrastructure-wise, they were way ahead of us.
All right. Now, the main theme of the Madaraka Day celebrations this year was education, skills, and the future. And the president dwelt on that matter for quite a long time. Specifically, the northern part of Kenya has had problems with the fewer teachers, and many teachers not willing to go teach from that end. And to that, the president said, They've opened enough TTCs in that region, including Garissa and others in Wajir, to train teachers, and so far 1,800 local teachers from the 3 counties have been employed, and over 4,600 others are currently in training. This is what the President had to say on matters education. Then we discuss.
This administration, my administration, has deliberately invested in northern Kenya and historically marginalized regions of our republic. Of all the investments, ladies and gentlemen, we are making in northern Kenya, none is more important than education, which is also the theme of this year's Madaraka: education, skills, and the future. Of all the tools a nation possesses, education is the most potent. It is the bridge between promise and possibility, between poverty and prosperity, and between exclusion and belonging. Unlike in 1963, the next frontier of Kenya's liberation will not be fought on conventional battlefields. It will be won in classrooms and lecture halls, laboratories and workshops, and in innovation hubs. The nations leading the world today and their position: South Korea, Malaysia, Singapore, invested in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education and became a technology powerhouse. Singapore turned it to its people into the greatest resource. Finland built a knowledge economy through sustained investment in learning. Kenya is decisively moving in that direction. The competence-based education and training system is transforming what learning means in Kenya. It is equipping our children not merely to pass examinations, but to think critically, solve problems, innovate, and compete on the global stage. It is designed around a simple but powerful belief that every child has unique abilities and talents worth discovering, nurturing, and unleashing.
Bwana Mundalo, yes, the budget, the biggest spend of the Kenyan budget, and it will be the same even this year, is education. Yeah. Currently 700 billion shillings. Yeah. But there are serious challenges, which compound when you go to the northern frontier. We've had, and you've mentioned the former deputy president and his assertion on schools, without even comparing to other places. Definitely Wajir and the other 2 counties of northern frontier are not at the best space in as far as education is concerned. Do you see any push beyond the obvious, by even the national government, to actually ensure that education probably moves a bit faster, or development of education infrastructure moves a bit faster in the northern frontier?
The truth is that actually education is an equalizer, and it's one of the things that once provided to anybody, you can be able to almost be sure that they almost have a fair chance at life. Most of us, Fred, I don't know about you, but myself, I'm in Nairobi courtesy of education. Mm-hmm. If it was not for education, this city is about 10 hours away from where I grew up. And there was no other way of really being here. So education, in truth, is actually an equalizer. When you look at the northern frontier, I think part of the little advantage they usually have in terms of education is that because of the marginalization, those of them, the people from the northern hemisphere who end up here, we really regard them very highly, because then we know that they are very exceptional. But then the reality of what are we then doing about this education sector going forward is now where the rubber meets the road always. I'm happy that the president talked about a university that is now being opened up, that side, because again, people can only be as ambitious as what they can be able to see. If people cannot be able to see a university, they cannot be able to look forward to even being in one. So opening up the frontier and saying we are going to have a university here is actually a good thing. But there's also another thing that must be able to be done. The defeatist mentality whereby already you look at the teachers, and many people don't want to even go and teach that side. When you look at most of the time, everyone, even the police, even people feel like that is a region I should not be. Yeah, and even national government using northern Kenya as a center of punishment, whereby when someone has done a wrong thing in public service, you are now sent to northern Kenya as a form of punishment, becomes one of the problems that then the frontier faces. That when you're a teacher who has done something bad and we want to ensure that we want to punish you, we send you to a school that side. That mentality must be able to change. That way, the perception, once the perception changes, things become very, very different. And even the schools that are there today, before we even talk about others being added, the government must look at how best are they serving the ones that are already there. How best is the teacher who is already there being taken care of? How best, what are the budgets of the people of the schools that are already there? Are the teachers having servant quotas, for instance? I have been to schools where one of the challenges, there was a school in Migori County that I once went to and realized that the school did not have a female teacher. And yet the school was a mixed school. All the teachers were actually male. Then you only realize that the reason why this school does not have a female teacher is because there is the distance from the school to the nearest center is very huge. So it is very difficult to have someone live that far. It is more complicated for actually the teachers of the female gender. So these are some of the challenges, and I imagine if that is Migori, it would even be worse in the northern frontier. So these are the things that must be taken care of first for the schools that are already there. Before we talk about how we are going to increase them, it is important that first of all we have sufficiency of the ones that are there so that they are able to operate at the optimum level. Then we can now have others. So that we don't end up having a lot of institutions, but all of them are operating at about 15% when they should be operating at about 100%. Let us be able to first of all elevate the ones that are there to operate at the optimum, have sufficient number of teachers. When you look at the report during that celebration, almost all schools, actually all of them, the entire place has a deficit in teacher enrollment. Some as high as 54% actually, I think, in high schools or something like that. That is extreme, that is too high. So let us first of all start by meeting them first of all at the needs they require now, before we talk about expansion. Because most of the time, the problem that we have had is that we have rushed to expansion and then created a more problem than the one that we already have. So can we be able to first of all solve the one that we have? Can the schools that are there today have sufficiency of teachers? Can the schools that are there today have sufficiency of the development that they need? Can the schools that are there today have the classrooms that they need? The schools that are there today, can they have the laboratories that they need? Then after we have been able to be done with those ones, now we can be able to expand.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that even the president noted that part of the conversation they've had on teacher shortage is to educate more local teachers. Yeah. But do you believe that for a county that wants to assimilate with others, that is the best solution? Just training more local teachers because others are not keen on going there?
First of all, it's a fallacy to say other Kenyans are not in northern Kenya. I've seen people from central Kenya on motorbikes doing business in the interior. So it's not true. The difficulties we have is around the borders where Al-Shabaab will attack people just to create rift between, Kenyans. But now, what happens if all the schools in northern Kenya, the teachers are enough? Where do we take them? So there must be, a vision that our teachers can go to Somalia from any region, even from that part of the region. We will have it easy in Mandera to go teach Mogadishu because of the language. We go teach Djibouti because of the language. And I tell you, there is a population of close to 20-30 million Somalis around that part. So we should not only thinking about the schools in Kenya. But if you want to integrate the country, that will not be the solution to the people in northern Kenya. It's to build good schools. There are teachers there still. In my village, most of the guys are from Bomet, who are the primary teachers. They are from Bomet. So this country is not suffering from a lack of development or this. We are suffering from lack of leaders with thought. Because the average politician in Kenya is between 59 to 79. While the average population of this country is 21. So you see the people leading the national government and its citizens, there is a gap. And that's why people cannot even communicate. Because you say you're going to be helping youth, 50,000, 100,000, yet the minister is stealing and buying a car that is, Lexus is like 18, 20 million. What are you telling us? What is the economical logic of stealing 20 million and giving people 50 million? So misgovernance is our problem. Greed is our problem. Cherry picking few things here and there, and we need to avoid to descend into divisiveness and destruction as a country, trying to, the northern Kenya people are now uniting with the people in Rift Valley. The people of central Kenya are being that is the tactic used by Moi, it was used by Kibaki, it is used by everybody else. It is outdated and old-fashioned. The Somalis or Kenyans from that part of the country are all over in central. They are all over in Kisii. They are all over everywhere. Just like in Mandera, my mechanic Joseph is a Luya from Kakamega. My other mechanic is Owino from Homa Bay. Kenyans have no problem with each other. So politicians should not beat the drum of saying this community against this community. There is no a single community that has a problem with other communities in this country. Our problem is the leaders want to use that ethno-supremacism so that sisi tukipigana, the question of good government, the question of fighting corruption, the question of unemployment, underemployment around 46. If you look at the data from the government, people are not buying cement. People are not building. People are not repairing. If you look at food, we are spending 500 billion on importing. Yet agriculture supports us. Mr. President, you might have good intentions. But the cabal of wolves around you, we know them. We know where they eat from. We know where they breathe. We know where they go with their side chicks. There is nothing we will accept as long as all Kenyans access clean water. We can. There is money. Clean health. I wrote another day on the Star. Universal health care does not need a funder. It needs a promise that when this child who was bitten by a snake in Kapedo can go to the health center, but the health center has electricity, the clinical officer is around, and the drug is there. And that guy gets injection, and then his life is saved. But if you're going to transport him 100 kilometers, and then he will die on his way, it doesn't matter who funds. The promise was broken. Right. And that is, I think, what we need to focus on.
All right. It's about 10 minutes to the end of this segment. So we just want to see the level of gratitude that the people of Wajir and their governor extended to the president. There was reference to the head of state as the king, the sultan, and he also got quite some gifts in form of a herd of camels. Let's listen to the governor of Wajir and what he said to the president in form of gratitude.
Mahat Sanit, Your Excellency, when you honor someone in our culture, and the highest honor is given to kings, Your Excellency, the community for the king contributes 100 camel. The elders of Wajir have said that you are our king, and they will give you 100 camel to be delivered by them at a place of your choice. You are a sultan.
He is a sultan. Advice. This level of gratitude, many may argue that it's misplaced, that in a devolved system of government, kila mtu afanye kazi yake.
Yeah.
What do you feel?
I've always argued that the level of gratitude of different people varies depending on the nature of their problem. That's why I've always said that whereas some Kenyans might think that in their language they would call it simping, it is sometimes because they have grown up from a place of advantage. And that's why they would think that why would you be able to appreciate the president for such. But you see, when you look at the context there, the governor is speaking first of all from a community perspective, and he's saying in our community, this is what we actually do. What I'm trying to think is that he is doing a direct translation from the thinking in their community and their language and how they would want to appreciate directly to an English translation that we can all understand. And he's simply trying to say, we have never seen this before, which is a reality, which is a truth. He's simply being able to say that we have never been honored like this before. No one has actually apologized to us before for these historical injustices that have happened before. No one has actually been able to push a project. No president has put billions of Kenyan taxpayers' money to that region called Northern Kenya. And for this is why we really, really want to appreciate, which I do not see a problem with. I see the same happening in Nyanza. You can be able to see when the president is there and how they are able to speak about the things that have happened there. They are very appreciative. Whereas those who would not be in Nyanza and in those areas, who do not understand the historical challenges that they have gone through, they might not appreciate it as much as these other people. That's why you would be able to understand why some places people would appreciate the position of a cabinet secretary more than others. Some people have been having cabinet secretaries all their life. Even as it stands today, the Mount Kenya region has almost the highest number of cabinet secretaries, but they will still be said to be in the opposition. Yet we have other regions that would be having one person in the cabinet, and it is unimaginable. It is something they had never seen before. So sometimes for you to understand the level of appreciation of someone, you must actually delve deeper into their shoe. Then you'll be able to understand why their gratitude is enhanced to that effect.
All right. Yes,
No, I agree with him, and I will also take this opportunity to thank the president for visiting Northern Kenya. I am also going to thank the governor of Wajir for symbolically telling the president whatever he did. From where we come from, you need to show gratitude to people. I don't know whether you've seen, there is a very senior officer from TSC, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, who visited Wajir High School. I was the head boy there back then, more than 20-something years ago. That is my school. When visitors come from the Somali culture, we don't sit in the same level. Like today, my uncles and my dads, when they sit on seat, it will be very respectful if I just sit there, because we are not the same. My parents and I are not the same. And she said something very profound. She said, how can a child who sits on his shoe on the sand burn a school? Can you tell a child in Alliance to sit on the ground today? The cultures are different. The way we see life is different. She said she only experienced that in Vietnam. So whatever President Ruto, my president, I didn't vote for him. I may not vote for him. That's my right. But whatever he did, we must acknowledge. There are three things I support the president. Everything he's doing, I can disagree as a person. I cannot disrespect him. I cannot abuse him. But I will criticize the policies of his government. Three areas. If you know the universities, school fees is almost by half. I don't know whether you know that. Now, from September last year, do you know that?
Cut by half.
Cut by almost half. My friend who was doing law was paying 145. He's now paying 70 or 75 thereabout. Procurement, e-procurement. I want the president to use whatever it takes to make sure that every procurement process is on e-procurement. That is where we lose money. Okay, I've worked in the assembly in Mandara, I've worked in the national government. I know how they steal the money. It's through procurement. They overprice, they fake it. They do a lot of things. 2. 3, the issue of the national ID. When a person from Northern Kenya completes school at 18, 19, and unless they're very few, most of them go back to university at 23 or 24. Why? Because of the economical hurdle. Now that the fees has gone down, people are now going to university. Okay? So whatever has happened in Wajir is a reflection of a nation that needs to be stronger than the state. Kenyatta Moi built the state. Kibaki tried to build the nation. This nation is fragile. This nation, people are not employed. This nation, there are Kenyans sleeping in the cold. There are people going hungry. There are drugs being stolen. There are fuel being stolen from Kenya Power. Mr. President, in Wajir, you told the residents, according to you, power is working. I am telling you, as a journalist, as a pundit, as a resident of Mandera, the Kenya power in Mandera is a mess. The fuel is stolen. The moment you left, my kids cannot sleep under the AC or, the fan because of the heat. My child, who is 2 years old, sleeps under 40 degrees Celsius. Not the failure of the government, a failure of the Minister of Energy, the PS Energy, and the people working in Mandera for over 30 years. Ndibuli, why should an officer of government stay in Kenya Power in Mandera for 30 years, courtesy of Clan B, Clan C? When did a clan contribute national tax money? It's because they are corrupt, they are stealing the fuel, and we want the president to crack the whip in Mandera Power Station.
All right. Kazi kwako, Mr. President. Of course, we are still breaking down the president's speech on Madaraka Day celebrations, the 63rd edition of the Madaraka Day celebration that was held in Wajir yesterday. And yes, so much to talk about that. The dailies are talking about how he ignored the Ebola issue, but he must have attended to it elsewhere. But I'd like to thank my panelists this morning, Advice Mundalo, who's a leadership and communications expert, and Abdullahi Alas, who's a governance commentator, a journalist, social protection and public policy. Asanteni sana for your time at TV47.
Thank you.
All right, so a lot more is happening today elsewhere. Let's take a look at this. Yes, the Kenya Railways is launching the 77.8 kilometer Gilgil-Nyahururu meter gauge railway. This is an old type, not the SGR. The last time it was used was 46 years ago. The rehabilitated branch line will serve passenger and freight trains. The passenger train, dubbed Nyahururu Safari Train, will have 4 weekly trips, Nairobi to Nyahururu every Tuesday and Friday, and from Nyahururu to Nairobi every Wednesday and Sunday. We have our reporter on the ground on this launch. That's Stanley Nyaringita. Is he on standby with an update now? Yes, very good morning to you, Stanley. What do you have to tell us about this railway being relaunched today?
Very good morning to you, Fred. I can hear you. We are on board the Nyahururu Safari Train. This is 46 years later, the last time it was used, and it's going to be very, very important for people traveling from Nairobi all the way to Gilgil, where we are right now, the Gilgil railway station, and then for all Kalau as well as Nyahururu. As you rightfully put it, it will be having the 3 stations which will be launched this particular morning. Being informed by Cabinet Secretary of Tourism, that is Rebecca Miano, and it's going to be covering about 77.8 kilometers. Very, very important for this region, for the farmers here, for the agricultural region, because they'll be able to transport their goods all the way from Nairobi up to here. This particular trip will be having 4 trips weekly, Tuesdays and Fridays, as well as Wednesdays and Sundays. That is Nairobi to Nyahururu on Tuesdays and Fridays, as then, or from Nyahururu back to Nairobi Wednesdays and Sundays. Earlier on, we spoke to the managing director of Kenya Railways, that is Philip Mainga, and this is what he had to say, and just encourage the residents of this particular region on how to use this train and how it's going to be used. Let's listen into that.
Very important. Now, as you know, coverage, one of the things we have been doing through the government is to revive the entire railway system in Kenya. And Nyahururu line has been dormant, unoperational, and we came in almost a year ago and started working on this line to make it operational. We have completed the renovations, the rehabilitation of the stations, and also construction of the new stations. And today, we are starting our operation. We have done around 2 trials. And I can assure you the line is very firm, very strong. And for the first time in history already, as yesterday, we moved 1,000 tons of fertilizer from Nairobi to Olkalau and Nyahururu in national serious stores. So you can see now, beginning from the significance of the dormants, because this is this area where we are is an agriculturally dominant area. And one of the key inputs they look for and they have been using is fertilizer. And one of the things, the challenges they have been having is how to move this fertilizer or these agricultural inputs from Nairobi all the way to this region.
Yes, and that is Philip Maenga. He is the managing director of Kenya Railways. Right now, the Nyahururu Safari train has started its journey from Gilgil railway station. We are now going all the way to Ol Kalou, and we're going to be having that flag off just before we get to Ol Kalou. There's a branch line just near here. We're going to be having that particular, flag off. CS Rebecca Miano is expected to be flagging off this particular, train. A few interesting tips just to note. This Nyahururu Safari train has capacity to carry 1,000 passengers, and it will again be having the 4 weekly trips as I had mentioned earlier. Very cheap from Nairobi to Nyahururu and even back will be 650 Kenyan shillings, according to the managing director, saying in future they hope to have the electric, and they hope to actually go to the electric way and having the electric trains. So we also hope to see how that will be. But right now, I'll be enjoying the scenic views of Gilgil right now. The residents here are definitely anticipating, and the fact that this particular train and this branch line hasn't been used for 46 years, that means that it has been very dormant. So right now, the major thing that they're doing is making sure that people are sensitized that from now, henceforth, please keep away from this branch line because of your safety. So if you're listening to us and you're from this region, this branch line from Gilgil all the way to Nyahururu will be operational, and you need to take care of your safety. There was an incident that happened, and Philip Maenga also talked about it, where a life was lost because this the driver of the vehicle was along one of the branch lines from Gilgil to Nyahururu, and unfortunately a life was lost. But Maenga also talks about the safety and just making sure that people are aware of that. Fred, I'll take it back to you. We'll be updating you on from the flag off all the way to what will be happening in Ol Kalou, the speeches and the importance of rehabilitating the railway lines of the country. I'm yours truly, Stanley Nyeringita. Back to you.
All right, lovely pictures there on this day when Kenya Railways is launching the 77.8-kilometer Gilgil-Nyahururu meter gauge railway. That's the old railway line. The last time it was used was 46 years ago. Would you imagine that? 46 years ago. And Tourism CS Rebecca Miano will be presiding over that launch. And we'll be bringing you more details from there. Thank you so much, Stanley Nyeringita, for that update. Time for us to take a break. When we come back, we'll be discussing matters buying land or starting a business, which is a better investment. And Anodida will be talking to CPA Martin Waweru, an accountant and financial expert. Do stand by for that.